Stand out. What's up, everybody? You are tuned into season 2 of the Elks Call presented by Shotgun Sports. My name is Scout, aka the rep from Section X,
And I'm Catherine, aka Edmonton Elks.
and today we are joined by sports journalist for Shotgun Sports Network Alabama and the Stallion Stampede. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Ryan Messer. Ryan, 110 degrees Fahrenheit and super humid. That weather simply does not compute for at least one of us, if not both.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal out here right now, down here.
I
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. And is that just dry heat?
No, like he said, it 49% humidity. So
Oh, that's even
yeah,
worse.
uh, been down to Tennessee once. That humidity, I know what it feels like. It slaps you in the face as
Yeah.
soon as you leave air conditioning. So, yeah, man. I mean, might as well stay cool inside of the place and chat with the Elks herd. Thanks a lot, man, for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and dig into this show in a moment. But first, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Daryl, we see you in the herd chat. Good evening. Uh, whether you're watching on YouTube, which is one of the best spots to watch it, at Shotgun Sports Network, or on Facebook, which would be at the Elks Herd, or if you're listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. While we're here, if you could hit the like and subscribe, we would greatly appreciate it. Today's lineup for another stack show is as follows. We're going to open up with The More You Didn't Know with Ryan Messer. Next, we'll give you Kathy's herd report talking about the latest Edmonton Elks transactions and news. Following that, we'll give you an Edmonton Sports update, and then we're going to cap the show with the Fan Forum, where we discuss hot topics surrounding the Elks, the CFL, and the sports world as a whole. Be sure to blow up the herd chat so you can get your comments and questions onto the show. But let's kick it off with The More You Didn't Know, brought to you by the Winnipeg Terminal. Catch the flight with Mike and Joe every week, talking all things Jets and Bombers on Shotgun Sports Network. Wheels up. All right, let's talk to Ryan about the Elks, the Stallions, and even some other Birmingham sports. Once again, if you have questions or comments, be sure to get them into the herd chat and we will get them onto the show. Ryan, it's been a bit since you've been on the Elks call. Since then, the Birmingham Stallions have secured a three-peat championship. Man, what was it like covering the team from the sidelines during a championship season?
it was awesome, guys. You know, this is the second season that we've actually covered, credentialed. We've covered them all 3 seasons of the Stallions, all 3 championship seasons. So it's been great. It was amazing to be able to talk to these guys and get one-on-one with these guys, because the whole team is just so down to earth and all that. So they're really cool guys. So you can see why they work well together.
That's awesome. What would you say that your favorite Stallions moment would be for this season?
Being able to be at the championship and be down there with the guys celebrating and all of that, because last year it was up in Canton, didn't have the chance to get in there and actually get up there to the championship game the past 2 years. So luckily I was able to get up there to St. Louis and celebrate with those guys.
Well, and you had seen a couple of championships already, right? But this was your first championship game in person.
Right. I wasn't able to go. Like I said, I wasn't able to go to Canton the first 2 years, but I was actually able, had the opportunity to go to St. Louis this year to the championship game. So I was stoked for it.
How would a championship game be different than the Grey Cup or similar than the Grey Cup?
Well, the Grey Cup technically may be a bit bigger, right?
Yeah.
For attendance, like they hosted it. How many? Like, what's the attendance? What's the capacity versus the attendance? Would you say for that St. Louis championship?
It was rough, honestly. The first two, I think they were pretty much at capacity at the Hall of Fame Stadium there in Canton, Ohio. and they're. I really don't want to say. I'm not sure what the numbers were for that game, but because they sold so many tickets, they go by sold tickets instead of people in seats. And there were so many seats that were sold, but people never showed up because there were a lot of people anticipating the Battlehawks to the St. Louis Battlehawks to be in the championship, but they didn't.
Which they were getting like 30,000
Right.
regular attendances during
Right. They set the spring football season like record for like 36,000 people. So
yeah, see, so yeah, they were hitting records, they were hitting benchmarks.
Right.
And remember, I told you about this behind the scenes. Just like you'll have BC Lions fans buying those tickets up for the Grey Cup coming up in Vancouver, and as soon as Vancouver gets ousted, if they get ousted from the playoffs, the stock on that ticket,
Yeah,
all of a sudden
will
everybody's
be selling them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear that, even though you're getting such big numbers for regular attendance, that the championship game wasn't necessarily the best. But I mean,
But it was for Ryan.
Yeah, it sure was.
Oh, three-peat championship at that, right? You don't get to see that kind of feat very often. Luckily, we got to see that with the IFAF Team Canada U20 team. To get to see any sort of three-peat is a little bit magical as a sports fan. So for you to be able to go down, and I believe I saw some pictures there on Facebook, Ryan, where you and your family actually got to go down and take pictures with the trophy.
yes, we actually had the opportunity to go down on the field. I talked to a couple of players, got a couple quick interviews, not anything recorded, but just some talking points to share with the folks, the fans and stuff. And got some really good pictures of some of the players. But the best part was being able to get up there and let's just say that stage was pretty sticky after the champagne bath. It was, but it was great. It was fun.
Did you touch the trophy?
I didn't touch it.
See, that's a scout thing. Every single trophy that he comes across, he has to touch it, even if he gets in trouble for it.
Yeah. That Lombardi, right? I even told you about that one right away, Ryan. I had to. But getting back to the Stallions, which players do you think have the best chance of making an NFL roster this year?
Well, we've already had a lot already signed. Adrian Martinez already went to the Jets, which I was really surprised about at first because he's probably, Aaron Rodgers. He's probably not going to get, but it is a smart move for him in a development way because you're training up under that quarterback room right now is stacked. So you got arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Even though I cannot stand him, but he is a very talented quarterback. So
cool. I mean, yeah,
Aaron
I guess
Rodgers.
We're biased, but yes, that's really good.
We had a few people with the Commanders already. Kevin Austin, I believe, went to the New Orleans Saints. Ricky Person went up to Seattle Seahawks. So we've had a lot of people already. And Kevin Austin down in the St. Louis or the New Orleans Saints, he's been I've seen some camp videos, and he's been really showing out. So
okay, so that's maybe who has the best chance of making actually making the roster, not just a practice roster or fringe player, right?
Right.
Yeah, scouts are busy.
Yeah.
All over the States and here in Canada. But I mean, talking about that, at this moment, which league would you say is the better league? Feeder league. The better NFL feeder league. That's the question. The UFL or the CFL?
I'm that's going to be hard because I'm trying to not to be a homer here, but honestly, you know, in different ways, each one has a their own pool, but with the location of the people, the players already being here in the United States, not having to go back and forth, I think the efficiency wise, it'd be here. Talent wise, I think you guys got a little bit better talent, but you guys are also paying the players a lot better than what the UFL are playing.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and they're more willing to stay with the CFL as opposed to going to an NFL team and sitting maybe on a second string, role.
That's true.
No, that is very true. Um, now, you've been watching the Edmonton Elks. I know that you've been watching. You've even caught our frowning faces on TSN once or twice here. So we got to know, like, what do you think are the problem areas for this Edmonton Elks team? Like what stands out to you?
Originally, I kept saying offensive line, because my belief, I'm born and bred here in Alabama. As you can see, I've got some Alabama football helmets behind me. It's all about the games being won and lost in the trenches. Defenses win championships. The offensive line, if you don't have a good offensive line, then you have nothing protecting your quarterback, and there you go. But I kind of saw a shift with that, with the switch over to Trey Ford, where it seemed like they held a little bit better. So, and it all goes into the chemistry with the offensive line to the quarterback. So that deals a lot into it.
And I know that you were fortunate enough to meet McLeod Bethel Thompson last year. I mean, just playing off of that, what you've said, what's your thoughts on his rocky start here for his CFL return?
I'm not sure, honestly, because MBT is a really good leader, because with the New Orleans Breakers, him and Coach DiFilippo, both, Coach DiFilippo came in on the first game on crutches. He had an issue with his foot, an injury with his foot, and he told the team, look, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to walk across this football field. And that kind of fired those guys up a little bit. But MBT was also a really strong leader, and he really put that team on his shoulders and really led that team to, because I think they started out 0-2, 0-3. No, yeah. But it was really rough the first couple games that they played, because it was the chemistry wasn't there. But then they really bonded and really pulled through and wound up playing Birmingham for the Southern League division title. So,
Oh, that's crazy. So he was in a bit of that flip side of it. He was basically where Trey Ford is now, right? Coming for
right.
Rally the guys around. And that was one of our favorite features about MBT going into this season. He's a leader. He lets you he gives you those vibes when you hear him speak. He's a leader. He's somebody that leads, right? So there's been some speculation that his leadership, mentorship in that sense has been helping Trey Ford in his development.
Would you say maybe that he's just past his playing prime and he's more suited for a coaching kind of, mentorship position instead of actually being on the field, because he might just be a little over that?
Another thing is different people have different leadership styles. And maybe MBT's leadership style is a little different than Trey Ford's. So maybe that could have been the thing. And this offensive line has got a lot more chemistry with Trey Ford than they do MBT.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another big thing. So the chemistry is the key. We saw that a lot with the Stallions. I mean, with them going back and forth between the two quarterbacks, we saw that the chemistry was better with Adrian Martinez. But, the chemistry has to be there.
That's interesting because I remember watching so many games. Matt Corral comes in, they seem to be struggling, and then all of a sudden Adrian Martinez comes in and he can pull off the wins. And I remember that watching the UFL Stallions this year, right? So I guess what the question is now, Ryan, is if you're the GM of the Elks, what do you do with MBT now that Ford has the starting role? Would you trade him, or would you keep him on the roster to support Trey in a mentorship role? Like, what do you do with that now?
Honestly, I would keep him because, honestly, he does have the mentorship. He already has a little bit of chemistry with the team. He is mentoring. Let him keep building that chemistry because, look, you don't know what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season. Trey Ford could get injured. I hope he doesn't. But if it does, you've got MBT that already has that experience and that chemistry with the team to where with the receivers and the backs and all of that to where he can actually get in and actually play with confidence.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I agree. And I mean, the reality is that we are paying him a pretty penny. And if we should definitely get our bang for a buck, whether that is on the field, if that's not the way that it's going, because unfortunately, maybe, Trey Ford is a better fit at this point in time. That doesn't mean that he's still not needed for a lot of his knowledge, a lot of his expertise, a lot of the things that he does bring to the team that perhaps maybe just a little outside of playing in the field, right?
Oh, totally. You're spending that $500K no matter what, right?
Yes.
And I guess at this point you're spending in Trey's development, which they should have done for the last couple of years, anyways. And in the herd chat, John is checking in from Rogers Place, watching Team Canada at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, and Elks for the win Sunday, baby. What's your prediction, Ryan, for the game on Sunday?
I don't want to jinx it. I hope you guys win because I would love to see just a Cinderella comeback story for the Elks this season. Come back from behind, but it would be it's gonna be a long haul for you guys because a lot of people are going to come in. Who knows? A lot of people may come into these games thinking, overly confident, and you guys can show them out. So, but most of the games you guys have lost, it's been by single scores. So,
yeah.
So it's like
two. I'm pretty sure all but two were single scores, if not one.
Doable.
Only one. And then on top of that, Vernon Adams Jr. is injured.
Right.
So he will not be returning at starting quarterback. It will be Jake Dolagala this weekend, I believe.
Yeah.
So they're on their backup quarterback. I see that they have quite a few injuries. The injury bug is going around the CFL.
Yeah, it's starting.
Mid-season form, right? And injuries are in their mid-season form. Go figure. Yeah. And luckily, the Edmonton Elks are one of few teams that don't have it too bad. We had it bad a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Our defensive line was absolutely shredded, right?
Yep. Nope. We'll see what happens on that one. But I think, I do agree that there's going to be one or the other. Either people are going to be, other teams are going to be too overly confident and going to come in and start making mistakes, or they're really going to be prepared for Trey Ford, because now they see him as a contender that brings something different, something new. And
they got film. They're getting film.
They do have film. And I mean, we will talk about this, but Trey Ford definitely, showed a wide range of different plays that he's capable of. So he put it all out for them to be able to see on film. So we'll see how that goes. But Ryan, outside of football, you've been covering many other leagues and sports. Your podcast, Off the Rain, is done for the season. And now you have a new show called The Forge right here on Edmonton Sports Network. So tell us about the new show.
So, I actually had a segment on the Off the Reins podcast called the Birmingham Sports Brief. And I got a lot of contact from different people wanting more of just the sports, because most things around here are centered around like the traditional media focuses on collegiate sports. Alabama, Auburn, UAB is life around here. And the thing is, they don't focus enough on the professional sports teams. Thing is, you have to have a little bit of commentary on these teams if you want to see, the fan interest consistently. So I decided to go ahead and do that, and I cover the Birmingham Stallions, the Birmingham Barons of the MILB, the Birmingham Legion of the USL Championship, the Birmingham Squadron of the NBA G League, and the Birmingham Bulls of the Southern Professional Hockey League. So
the SP. And then it's so cool. We see the Barons flag in the background. Birmingham Bulls, I know that you've done quite a bit of content on them now. What's it like covering hockey for the first time with the Birmingham Bulls? Like, obviously the Edmonton Oilers are huge here. I don't think we'll be doing media for the Oilers anytime soon, but
I think Edmonton has that covered.
Edmonton has that covered extremely well. But like you said, right, you're filling those gaps, and Birmingham is just so oversaturated with sports. And like you said, you don't get enough coverage. So, especially hockey. What's it like covering it down there?
I'm stoked for it, man, because I grew up back when Birmingham Bulls were part of the ECHL, and I loved going to the games. Growing up, going to the games, and now being able to cover them, the front office is very down to earth and very open and willing to, help do this, because they know that this is helping the team and helping the success of the team, the sustained success of the team. So they're really cool about it. I just had a interview on Monday night's episode of the Forge with head coach Craig Simchuk, who was the captain on the inaugural team of the Birmingham Bulls this second generation. So, well, technically third, because they were a World Hockey WHL team for the Toronto used to be the Toronto Toros.
Toros, correct. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I mean, it feels like small town, but not really,
It is and they're just so oversaturated with sports. You got NBA G League. Right. You have so many.
Well, and the Barons have also seen some success with one or two of their players getting called to the majors.
Right.
It would
be a lot.
Yeah, it would be special to experience as someone that covers a team. So, what's
right?
That?
Two of the three players that so before the season started, they had an open practice and a media day with the players. So I interviewed three of the players. Two of the players have already been up to, or actually in Chicago right now. So they're playing for the Chicago White Sox right now. One of the players is actually in Charlotte. He just got lifted up to Charlotte, which is AAA. So hopefully soon you might see him, Tim Elko. He won a College World Series with Ole Miss. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of talented folks here. We're really struggling right now because Chicago and Charlotte have taken a lot of the players. So hopefully we're in the playoffs at least. So hopefully we can get some more players back, because Chicago's so far back and so is Charlotte. They're not even near playoff contention. So hopefully they'll send us back some players so that we can make a good run in the playoffs.
There's a lot of talent in Birmingham, it seems. Hey?
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
it's crazy. And I mean, for you to get to cover these guys and to cover these stories, that's really special, man. We've been watching, we've obviously been tuning into the Forge. You're on it's either episode 9 or episode 5. What episode are you on of the Forge?
7. It'll be 7. 6. We just had 6. We'll have 7 this week. So
okay.
Next week.
Perfect.
That's exciting. Birmingham seems fun. We should go to
We got to go to Birmingham.
Gotta go to Alabama.
Yeah, nice. You didn't call it Alabama. No, man. This is absolutely fantastic. Do you got any sneak peek for your next episode of The Forge?
Not really. I just got. We're just covering everything that's going on. Right now, the Birmingham Barons are taking on in-state rivals, the Rocket City Trash Pandas.
Nice.
Everybody loves that mascot because it's literally a raccoon in a trash can that has rocket boosters coming out the bottom because it's in Madison, which is right next to Huntsville, which Huntsville's known for the Space and Rocket Center and all of that. So we actually had a reality show called Rocket City Rednecks. It was, I believe, it was on TLC here in the States. I don't know if you guys might have had it, but it was hilarious.
They need a trash panda mascot too, apparently. I love it. That sounds like my spirit animal.
Oh no, that's so cool. Daryl here in the herd chat. I've been to Birmingham once. Amazing barbecue. There you go.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I'm very picky. So when I went to St. Louis, when I went to Texas for the first UFL game, the inaugural UFL game, I was very picky about the barbecue I tried. I do not like Texas barbecue. At least the ones that I tried in Dallas. Now, when I went to St. Louis, there was one right by Busch Stadium that was amazing. Shout out to the guys at Salt and Smoke. If you go to St. Louis, make sure you check out Salt and Smoke. That place is amazing. But they really do have really good barbecue in St. Louis. But I'm still a homer. I got to stick with my hometown Birmingham barbecue.
The Bama barbecue.
You know what? I would love to try that. I don't think I've had backyard barbecues here in Canada, but that's as far as I go for my experience in real barbecues. So
I smoke meats like every weekend.
I know, but I feel like that would be a little different than Birmingham barbecue.
They actually have, barbecue's so big here in Alabama. They actually have a competition that people come from all of the all around from the country, the world, and even I think we had somebody from Australia come out. But it's called Barbecue, and it's a barbecue competition, and it's amazing.
I feel like we would watch that on TV if they put it on TV.
Herdy's TV, barbecue TV. Birmingham needs their name removed from
No.
Sorry, no, it's
Kudos all the way, man. Kudos all the way.
And yes, Daryl, I think Baltimore is actually the team that he's going for. So luckily, but yes, go Kudas. Matt Dunnigan,
That'd be funny.
Kudas legend, now TSN panelist. Ryan, that's all the time we have for The More You Didn't Know. Man, where can we find you online? And I guess, is there any projects for Shotgun Sports Network Alabama?
Well, we're still working on getting ready for this fall. We've got a big packed fall this year because the Barons are in the playoffs. We're probably going to have the Legion in the playoffs and start of the Squadron and the Birmingham Bulls. So, but you can find me on X and Facebook and on Shotgun Sports Network on YouTube. But whether you go on to the Stallions Stampede or Shotgun Sports Alabama.
Perfect. Awesome.
That's awesome.
No, we'll definitely find you. I mean, we've found you time and time again, and we found you today for this interview. So everybody, make sure you go check out Ryan at Shotgun Sports Alabama and Stallion Stampede, the Forge podcast, and Off the Reins podcast. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This was a blast, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me, man.
Appreciate you, man. Okay,
Have a good night.
have a good one, man.
Peace. Cheers.
Cheers. So that is Ryan Messer, the guy who made this koozie, by the way, Ryan Messer.
Nice.
So shout out to Ryan Messer for joining us tonight on the Elks Call. Big shout out to you as well, the viewer, for tuning into tonight's episode of the Elks Call with the Elks Herd on Shotgun Sports Network. You can hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, all of that stuff while we're here. We would greatly appreciate the support. Drive to 500. Still trying to give away that jersey.
Yeah.
Still, I thought we would have given it away by now, but here we are.
Here we are.
Alrighty. Next up is Kathy's Herd Report. This is a good Herd Report today, where Kathy brings you the latest Elks news and transactions. Give you a little half by half as well. The Herd Report is brought to you by the Forge Podcast. Experience the latest in Birmingham sports with Ryan Messer as he gives you the latest news and updates in Alabama. Find the Forge every week on Shotgun Sports Network. There he was.
There he was.
All right, Kathy,
All right.
what do we got? Game recap. What do we got?
Let's do it. Let's talk Elks, not X. Sorry.
X.
No,
Let's talk X.
Elks.
No.
See, that's why I struggle so much with her chant, because that's all I want to say.
X.
Yeah, exact. So, anyways, the Edmonton Elks face the Saskatchewan Rough Riders at Mosaic Stadium on Saturday, August 3rd, and they got their first win of the season. It was also the 700th franchise win for the Edmonton Elks. So double yay. Let's break it down. So, during the first quarter, well, it didn't really quite start the best way possible with Mario's return touchdown after the opening kickoff by Beatty.
It was a little painful.
That was like seconds in, and
I think a lot of fans were like, why us? Why again? Like, why, right? As soon as that return touchdown happens, you're stressed.
I wasn't even watching the game. I was away, unfortunately, and I did try to tune in. And as soon as I tune in, I see the score, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? I'm not even watching it. What's going on? So I was a little stressed. I was a little worried. I'm not going to lie, especially with that start. But we did have Ford starting as a quarterback. So we definitely got a taste for his running abilities. And Javon Leake's solid rush during that first quarter and receiving performance brought us close enough for Beatty to kick it in 4-3. And that's also including a rush through the middle by Prukop for a fresh set of downs. So it was definitely a really nice drive, because after that, we had that massive Geno Lewis reception just inside the 40 to once again bring us close enough for Beatty to kick it through. So, I mean, even though we had, 7 on the board for Saskatchewan, we were quick to bring it under a point there. So, wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad.
Too bad. With just about 2 minutes left in the first quarter, we got to see that beautiful long bomb that threw way down the field to former rider Tevin Jones for a 93-yard touchdown.
Beauty of a play.
Beauty. So that's one thing that I wanted to point out here, and I kind of mentioned it before while we were talking to Ryan, that we got to see another side of Trey Ford that we don't get to see very often. We know that he can do rushing plays. We know that he's good with the scramble, sorry. And there's been doubts about his arm strength and even his accuracy, because we don't get to see that very much. But we definitely got to see that in this game, and we know that he has those strengths as well.
Well, it's been a struggle in the pass first category for Trey Ford for much of his starting quarterback career. So to see him do passes first, and Jarius Jackson actually talked about this in an interview today in the media avails, Edmonton Elks on YouTube.
Mhm.
He said, "Yeah, man, that's Trey Ford going through his progressions. That's him going 1, 2, 3, 4 read,
Mhm.
and then scramble. He's not scrambling off the first
Right.
read, right? So he's staying in the pocket a little bit longer at times to make that throw. He's also taking hits
Mhm.
to make those throws. He's actually developing. He's actually becoming a pass first, like you said. This is almost like new territory. This is something new. We're not used to seeing Trey Ford make those kind of huge plays down the field.
Well, and that's kind of what I was hoping to see during this game, and that's why I was so disappointed that I didn't get to see the game. Mostly because I wanted to see how he would perform.
Mhm.
Right? We've had the chance to see him during garbage time, as you may call it. Right?
Right.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of just do what you got to do to make it happen. And perhaps during that time, what you got to do is scramble. What you got to do is do all those rushing plays. He doesn't really have the time to sit back and actually, take his time, read the plays, make a move. But now, as a starter, it's a completely different game for him. And it's really nice to see that he's just not leveraging what we have seen of him, but he's actually showing the different range of skills that he has across the board.
Yeah, and I mean he what 81.1%
Yeah.
completion rate.
Hmm.
So he only made around 21 attempts. I want to say he made 18 to 21 attempts. I
He
believe is the
made them
number,
count, though.
but he made them freaking count and fantastic throws on time.
Hmm.
Some of them were running gun football. You saw a different Trey Ford than what you saw last year. And we're going to talk about this in the fan forum
Hmm. Once
because
again,
we are going to hash it out. You got a half by half to go
yeah,
through,
I
buddy.
was I was hoping for that, definitely. Going into the second quarter, about 5 minutes in, uh, Trey Ford had another yet successful drive. Starting with a clean pass to Gittins Jr. for a first down on the Riders' 49-yard line. On the next drive, we brought it close enough for Beatty to kick once again, but we ended up getting lucky that the Riders got an offside penalty, which gave us a brand new set of downs.
Brand new.
Brand new. At first and goal, Javon Leake calmly runs it in for another touchdown. So I saw that on the highlights and the recaps. Like it's like he's almost walking to the end zone. It was really cool to see. But after that, this is where things started to get a little bit stressful.
Right.
Patterson, he had a successful series of passes to his receivers and a sack on Trey Ford. Um, However, an overturned touchdown ruling, no, not however, that was adding
Yeah.
on to it. An overturned touchdown ruling on the field placed the ball on the 1 yard line, which we unfortunately couldn't stop. So there was a touchdown, they overruled it, but they still brought it to the 1 yard line and they still made it happen anyways. So this brought us to a score of 20-15 for the Elks during halftime.
Which I felt confident. I felt a little bit confident in that 20 to 15. It wasn't the typical, oh, we're not looking so hot, we're going down. Or oh yeah, we're gonna blow it. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those. You did not feel like that as a fan. You were a little bit more confident.
That's good. I mean, they were getting close, but you didn't necessarily lose faith at this point.
No, the
And
third quarter got a little bit sketchy.
they did. The Elks did not score a single point. And just over halfway through the quarter, Trey Ford overthrew a long pass to Gino Lewis, which resulted in an unfortunate interception. And I mean, Gino Lewis is good and all, but he had three guys on him, so I was definitely not surprised. It was a 1st and 10, so I'm really surprised that Trey Ford went for such a risky play there.
Well, and that was probably the play call from
Right.
coming from J Jack, right?
Mhm.
Jarius Jackson more than likely called for that. You said that was a 1st and 10, right?
Yeah,
So
that was a first
they
and
were
10.
trying to catch them off guard and trying to get that touchdown play and catch them off guard on that, and it didn't work.
No, Gino was fully covered.
They
There was no
they
way.
they knew Saskatchewan knew what the
Yeah,
Elks were doing.
definitely. The defense seemed to struggle a little bit with stopping the run. during this quarter, and Saskatchewan ran in for a touchdown to take the lead at the end of the third quarter. They missed a 2-point conversion, though. So that's good. That's always good. It's always good to see.
We'll take it.
Yeah. During the fourth quarter, it was a very high scoring and definitely exciting quarter. Which is nice to see because consistently for this season, the fourth quarter has been and it has been the worst time for the Elks consistently.
It was our third
season
quarters from last year have
Yeah.
pushed forward to the fourth.
Definitely. So I started getting a little nervous just knowing historically what has happened during fourth quarters. But, a lot can happen in 15 minutes of play, right? So on the first Elks drive of the quarter, Trey Ford passed to Javon Leake midfield for a touchdown and a 2-point convert by Gittins Jr.
Yep.
Yay.
Yay.
After that, an Edmonton Elks blitz paid off with Purifoy going in for a sack.
Monster sack.
And with 2 minutes and 30, left on the clock or so, Trey Ford completed the same play with Javon Leake. I mean, if it's working, keep doing it. Leake ran it in for his third touchdown of the game. Really, he's just as slippery as Trey Ford can be. You saw him. He was just going in. But here's my question on this, though. Javon Leake was filling in for Kevin Brown, who is injured. So what does this say about Kevin Brown, given his performance so far this season? It's the same O-line that Leake had working for him. And he managed to find the gaps and push through. In many times, it looked effortless, what he did.
Right.
So when Kevin Brown comes back, will he continue to struggle? Or was this a Trey versus MBT on QB1 situation and he'll be better because Trey is starting?
We'll take a look at how the running play picked up at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Kevin Brown got a lot more room. A lot of this is Trey Ford being on the field and putting the other defenses on notice. The other defenses, like they said, whenever Trey Ford's out there, they'll put a spy, which is one of your defenders are constantly monitoring for the run, for the running quarterback, for the run threat.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're tying up one of your defenders for that, that's one less for pressure.
Right.
So, you're not doing 5-man pressure. Maybe you're doing less blitzes. Why? Because you know that this could be a handoff, but they have a design play where Trey Ford boots out of there and sweeps, right?
Which we have seen.
Which we've seen.
Yep.
So you take a look at the Javon Leake plays. Well, the O-line has somehow made a bit of a moving pocket or has pushed a hole open because players are seeing Trey Ford go one way and Javon Leake is going the other. So when the defense is predicting Ford on the run and you have Javon Leake sweeping the other way or finding that hole. Now, the other piece with this is Javon Leake is a completely different running back than Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown is a heads down and push through the hole, find a hole, squirm his way through, and then he jets, right? He doesn't do so many of those slanted sideway plays or sweeps. He doesn't do many of those. Javon Leake is also like a Le'Veon Bell type of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Back in the day when Le'Veon Bell was with the Steelers, he would push along the backs of his guys and wait for the opportunity and kind of bounce off guys as opposed to just rushing right into it.
He did see that Javon Leake had those kinds of moves. So that's kind of, I don't want to bring it back to pinball and make that reference, but he did look like a little pinball that he was, going through all of these players.
That's exactly it, right? That's what Le'Veon Bell did back in the day with the Steelers. Javon Leake has that patient stutter step type of style that works with this offensive line. Like Ryan Messer was talking about earlier on the show. It's finding those certain pieces that work with the others. It's finding that quarterback that works best with your semi-broken O-line, right? You take a look at our O-line right now. Well, the O-line can make a pocket. They're not too good at it. But once you have Trey Ford out there, those pockets start moving.
Right.
All of a sudden, you're making a moving pocket, or you're not necessarily worried about this one little hole.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're worried about a half of the field, which is actually a lot more manageable, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes
it's yeah, like Daryl says here. I think the threat of Trey Ford open running lanes that MBT wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
That said, it's still possible Leak is more dynamic than Brown, and that's exactly what we just said, right?
It's the reality. It's like Ryan said, it's all about chemistry too, right? Sometimes certain players will work better for other players.
Yeah.
Just the way that they play, the chemistry that they have. So we'll see what happens to Kevin Brown when he comes back, especially if Javon Lee continues to perform the way that he does, right? So
I don't see why they wouldn't be able to, do a 1-2 punch or switch the guys in and
Right.
out, because
Mhm.
that now adds a different level of mystery to your offense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, when you see Kevin Brown out there, they're going to start doing different defensive line formations to try to stop that run, or they're going to be running different plays to try to stop, let's say, a Kevin Brown run versus a Javon Leak run.
Right.
And sometimes an unstoppable running back is just unstoppable.
Yeah, very true. But I mean, that's one thing that we kept saying, in other episodes, that our offensive, our offense was very predictable. It
Yeah.
started to get very predictable. So maybe even, that tandem plays between Kevin Brown and Javon Leak will be enough to keep people on their toes, because they might be expecting one thing and then suddenly it's like, no, that's not what's going to happen.
Which, remember, Javon Leak was already taking up a roster spot. He's already on the roster, not taking up, but
Yeah.
he is indeed on the roster.
Mhm.
So because of that, it's easy to interchange Kevin Brown and Javon Leak. It's just a matter of who do you want taking more snaps.
Right.
As of right now, Javon Leak outplayed Kevin Brown in one game.
Oh.
And unfortunately, a lot of that product is more than likely from Trey Ford, just like Daryl said
Right.
in the herd chat. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. For now, I think you play the hot hand. No matter what, you have to play what works. You have to start what works.
Definitely.
And Kevin Brown, I think he's limited in practice right now.
Yes,
As
he
per
is.
we're going to get to that injury report in a moment.
He certainly is. So we'll see. We'll see. It was a very nice change of pace, though. Especially because we have recognized that the offense has been quite predictable, as I mentioned. So it was really, it felt like we were catching them off guard. And
But in that third quarter, they were catching us off guard.
Very true. Very true. I mean, and you just got to get your footing and see what works and what doesn't. And we came back with a vengeance on the fourth quarter, right? I mean, to keep going on that, after that, Saskatchewan's return drive, we see an interception by Cordell Jackson, too. So that was good, which let Ford throw it on a 2nd and 11 to Tevin Jones for his second touchdown of the game. So good game for Javon Leak and Tevin Jones.
And Cordell Jackson, who was predicted on the Elks call to make it through training camp. I'm pretty sure he was.
You gotta bring it up every day.
He was a player to watch on the Elks call. We're still watching him, and we're watching him make interceptions. So
good for him.
Good for Cordell.
But we gotta give it to Patterson, though, who pushed on that last drive of the game, and with just 6 seconds left in the game, he threw a pass for a last-second touchdown. So that brought the final score to 42-31. So yay, our first win. That was exciting.
Very exciting.
So
Can't hit this button enough today.
Let's talk about the bad. I mean, the D-line showed improvement, but there's still a lot to be desired. They still allowed, what was it? 31 points?
31 points, exactly.
They still allowed 31 points, which at the end of the day, that would have, if it had been another game, or if we perhaps didn't have Trey Ford, it would have just completely killed us.
Yeah, the defense as a whole, I mean, the D-line, they did show improvement, but the D as a whole can't let in 31. Shea Patterson Shea Patterson, right?
Yes.
Shea Patterson. We're talking about a backup here, and he has filled that role quite a bit for the Riders through their wins and everything, but now their injuries are stacking up.
Yeah.
So, you can't let in 31. I hope the defense does clean it up for next game.
Yeah, hopefully it's just a continuous improvement. And I mean, you could say the same thing for the special teams as well. Those kickoff returns, once again,
Well,
one ended up in a touchdown.
an average punt return as well.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, they beat us down pretty bad in that
Very
category.
much so those returns definitely could be stopped a lot sooner. Let's just put it that way. But there were a lot more good than bad in this game, for sure. At the end of the day, Edmonton finished the game with 276 yards rushing against the CFL's top-ranked rush defense. So that's something to say. Very big. Trey Ford himself, he passed for 252 yards and 2 touchdowns. And of course, player of the game, running back, Javon Leake, totaling 169 yards on 12 carries. He was also recorded at 35.8 kilometers per hour, which is a speed that no ball carrier in pro football has topped in the last year. So he got himself a record.
Including NFL. He beat out NFL records, so that's huge.
That's massive. He's a fast boy.
He's fast boy.
He's a fast
boy.
But he had a fantastic game, and he was definitely probably the best thing that the Elks could have asked for in this game. But from here and on, no transactions, but quite a few injuries. There is no outs. Everybody is kind of, did not participate or limited. So
first day of practice. So we will see how these go.
We'll see how, by Friday, what these look like. Kevin Brown, he had limited participation due to his shoulder injury. Tanner Green did not participate. He has an ankle injury. Romeo McKnight, he did not participate due to an ankle injury. Hergy Mayala, he had limited participation due to a foot injury. Jacob Plamondon, he did not participate due to an elbow injury. Josiah Shackle did not participate due to a groin injury. And Arkell Smith had limited participation due to a chest injury.
Yeah, the dude did not participate. So those look a little bit sketchy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Shackle went down in that game. Plamondon, I believe, also went down in that game. So Hergy Mayala, hope he's back.
Mm-hmm.
Hope he's back because of more weapons for Trey Ford now. Mm-hmm. Same deal with Arkell Smith. Hope he's coming back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll remain hopeful.
I mean, that you just talk about weapons and you think about it, and it's like Trey Ford has his pick of, between, Javon Leake and Gino Lewis and Gittins Jr. and
on paper.
Hergy Mayala.
On paper, every time.
No, but we have seen them perform. We have seen them. We know that all of these guys, the 4 guys that I just mentioned, have, made touchdowns. They have made some really good catches. So it's like now Trey Ford can put them to work. So that's exciting. That's exciting to see. So what's next? Sunday, August 11th, we have the rematch against the visiting BC Lions. This is Country Day. Or as John over here said, Sunday is Brad Kizzle appreciation game, not Country Night. Either way, I don't like it. But check out our latest article over at shuckinsportsnetwork.ca.
Check it out. We do recap the game over there as well. Give you a little bit of fan side, although you guys get most of it right here. I mean, BC Lions, is this a winnable game? Yes, I do think the Edmonton Elks can win. Like we said, we kind of did a little bit of prediction and breakdown with Bama boy, Ryan Messer. But I mean, I think we're gonna win this game. I believe that the Edmonton Elks, especially with Trey Ford, you have that renewed faith. Country Day, so it's going to be a hot summer night right after BVJ, the following weekend after BVJ. So that was actually really smart planning on their end. I see what they did there. This is also the only August game at home. So Elks
That's
fans,
right.
get
Totally.
down to the stadium.
That feels weird. I remember last summer it was really packed. It was busy. Summer was busy.
And then a dull fall.
Yeah.
But because remember you had the IFAF,
Right.
IFAF that ended up taking up a big chunk in the beginning, and then it was
Mhm.
slam. And now we got like this one August game, and then our fall and winter
Yeah.
is going to be.
Yeah, we got a
We're gonna
bye week coming up.
well, and we need to get to the playoffs.
Mhm.
We got one win. We need a lot more to go. Edmonton Elks need a lot of wins to go.
We need to win every single game from now on, okay? That's what's gonna happen. And I mean I agree. I think they can. I think they've got a little bit of confidence now. They have a win under their belts. Let's call this momentum and see them bring another one.
Well, and don't forget the Edmonton Elks almost won against the BC Lions
Mm-hmm.
in BC.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Elks almost won that game. They lost it in the last 1 minute, last 30
By
seconds.
a
However,
field
of course,
goal.
it was
Yeah.
definitely a field goal in BC. So yeah, you know, but it's not like
It's doable.
it's not like it's an easy L on BC's schedule or anything like that. As well, with the amount of injuries that BC has right now, they're playing next man up football.
Right.
They're traveling to Edmonton, so it will be exciting. Like we said, get on down there, and of course, there's going to be a little bit of hurties. So why don't we just get you right over to our Edmonton Sports update? Today's sports update is brought to you by Hurties. Get in my belly! Belly and belly what? Swing on by stall 182 on Sunday, 3 hours before the Elks game for some delicious smoked pork belly on a bun, which will not last long. Beat us there, and we'll hashtag meet you there. Hurties, we smoke the meats, while supplies last. Your Edmonton Elks are currently 1-7, defending home turf against the BC Lions on Saturday night. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. Mountain at Commonwealth Stadium. In the CEBL, the Edmonton Stingers were eliminated by the Calgary Surge on Sunday night. Ooh. The Edmonton Riverhawks will be hosting a home playoff game on Saturday night against the Birmingham Bulls. This is the first playoff game at Remax Field for the Edmonton Riverhawks.
It's gonna be packed. We should get tickets soon.
First pitch is at 7:05 Mountain. Be sure to catch Riverhawks and Stingers games on Edmonton Sports Talk Live if you can't make it to the game in person. And for more on the Edmonton sports scene, check out our weekly sports articles on shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. Where the Elks heard, you're up to date. And then we got to give you guys a thank you, not only for watching the show, but for supporting our network, Shotgun Sports Network. By clicking the links in the description, you are supporting our network. We're a self-funded media company, so we depend on viewers like you. So thank you. That was like the PBS. That was awesome. I went back in time for that one. A couple of great companies we got to mention right now, which you can find all of these, like we said, in the description. You can find those links. Royal Retros, the Throwback Kings, the IFAF Team Canada jerseys. They're like an exclusive merchandise provider for Football Canada. So there's no better way to celebrate than by using code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off. Go get some Team Canada merch. Go get some CFL inspired jerseys. You can get that Birmingham Barracudas jersey, like Ryan Messer was talking about. I saw a Memphis Mad Dogs comment. Royal Retros got that too. Baltimore Stallions, they got that too. So guys, Royal Retros, they have all of those throwback CFL jerseys. Go hit them up. They also have that Football Canada. Once again, code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces, for 10% off. Fanatics, we all know Fanatics. We all love Fanatics. They always got a sale over there. So if you hit the link below, anytime you're shopping for your favorite sports team's merch, you could be using our link and supporting the network. So hit them up. Shop with Shotgun Sports Network and Fanatics. And then, guys, lather. I didn't bring the stick of deodorant down to prove to you,
I
but
had to look. I don't believe it.
you have to look. The deodorant,
It still
it
lives.
still lives. I have not, but like I literally have not bought any stick of deodorant since I've had the 2 bars of lather, alternating back and forth. So
It's crazy.
save yourself 20% over at lather. Use code Shotgun Sports 20, all caps, no spaces. Lather without the E. Smell damn good. Rinse, lather, repeat. What is it? Lather, rinse, repeat. Lather, rinse, repeat. I like that one. And then last of all here, if you'd like to sponsor any of our segments or even our show as a main sponsor, shoot us a message on our socials or via email, which would be admin@shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. Our viewership has been on the rise, so grow with Shotgun. Fan forum.
Yeah.
This is our last segment of the show of the night. We're going to open it up. Let's open up the fan forum. In this segment, we talk about hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks and the CFL as a whole. Blow up the herd chat so we can get your comments on to the show. Big one here. Today's fan forum is brought to you by the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Americans Talking Canadian Football, Oz and Joe can now be seen on Shotgun Sports Network. Number 2 on the network right now. Number 2. But everyone's favorite point, white and blue. The Rouge. Question number 1 in this fan forum herd chat. Get in there. Make sure you let us know what you think about this. Fans have been claiming that if Trey Ford started for the Edmonton Elks since game 1, that we would have many more wins than the 1 win the Elks currently have. Question number 1 here. Should Trey Ford have started sooner? Should they have started Trey Ford at QB1 quicker than they did? Kathy, what do you think? In her check, get in there.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I definitely think that they should have played him. I don't know about started. Because, I mean, if you're trying to be objective about this, right, you want to see some plays other than the ones that you have seen to get a really good feel whether he's ready or not.
Right.
And we did not see him play very much, if at all, until the very last few games that he got, garbage time.
Right.
In just a few minutes, just a couple of plays. So I definitely think that he should have played a lot sooner, whether he had gotten a first or a full half or even just a full quarter. I definitely feel like he should have gotten more opportunities to play and be on the field and see that. And then based on that, decide whether he should have started or not.
Now, do you think, remember that whole thing with Chris Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Was Chris Jones correct? Like, do you think Trey Ford didn't want to go in for garbage time, or like obviously we're spitballing here?
Yeah, at that point you were speculating, right? You don't really know exactly what was happening. We were hearing one thing and here and hearing another one on the other, and so we're not really sure. I really do think that it's perhaps for somebody with the caliber of Trey Ford that he perhaps could have been a little offended that he might have only been used for those opportunities,
Right.
because they're not even real opportunities, right? I mean, you saw how he played as a starter. It's not the same way that he was playing when they told him, okay, go in for the next 2 plays.
Right.
Go in for the next, minute and a half to 2 minutes. It's not the same. And if you truly believe that you have the skill, and if you truly believe that you have what it takes to do a lot more than that, I understand if Trey Ford was a little offended by that whole concept. It comes back again that I just think that he should have gotten a lot more opportunities to play on the field than what he got.
So does this come back to, like, let's say the Kyle Oxley stuff, where Kyle Oxley didn't want to go in at short yardage quarterback, didn't like that opportunity? That's kind of what Jones was pressuring on him. I think some of that psychology carried over to whatever the heck was happening between Jones and Trey Ford. I think maybe like Jones didn't want to be pushy or didn't want to sour his backup quarterback or whatever, right? But at the same time, if you're the coach, you have to direct the traffic. You have to tell people what to do. So we didn't see much. We didn't see like any Trey Ford
And that's just
until
it.
Jones was gone.
I don't think that's the same situation. I mean, with Kyle Loxley, that was his job.
Yeah.
Short yardage. He didn't want to do his job. Here with Trey Ford, it's a little bit different because it's not like you were asking him to be QB2. You were asking him to go in for garbage time. You were asking him to go in
Well,
because
yeah.
you need a Hail Mary and we just, it's not going to do anything, right? It's not like you're actually telling him, okay, you're going to get a full quarter or a full half to do your job. They're just telling him, hey, this is our last resort. Here you go, do something.
Well, and you take a look at that game as well, that game against Hamilton, which I said Trey Ford should have started that game. That was before and after. Trey Ford should have started that game. I think I would say that is as soon as he should have started the game because the game before, you could tell where the rust was. He went in for 2 plays and then he was out. It was like that little foot in the door and let's get you a little bit started, but it didn't do anything. They put him in and they took him out, and then MBT went on to lose the game. And then the next game, that Hamilton game, you have Trey Ford come in which was basically garbage time, but he balled out and got 3 touchdowns on 3 drives. So I don't think he should have started. And the reason why he shouldn't have started game 1, he shouldn't have started game 1. There were issues going into this season that Trey Ford, there were concerns, that Trey Ford didn't quite have that elite quarterback, mannerism and mentality off the turf. He didn't have those in-between pieces. MBT showed up and delivered a lot of those pieces, but then the O-line didn't quite mesh with. Now we're seeing this scenario. So this had to happen for Trey Ford in order for him to discover another part of his game. Also passing, because MBT is a pass-first quarterback. He got to learn all that.
Yeah.
And that is massive for his development.
It's invaluable, knowledge and insights, and just even being able to see MBT play and learn from that.
Totally.
Massive. Right?
Yeah, Daryl says here, back-to-back comments. Sooner, yes, in my opinion, not the game 1 starter. Reading defenses, going through his progressions, etc. Exactly. Whereas last year we saw a scramble first Trey Ford.
And that's what we saw in the first couple of games that he got to play, and he just made it for a couple of plays.
Well, when you have successful football minds telling you or telling even the public that there are pieces that are missing, it kind of gave you the perception that maybe Trey Ford has not had like a fake it till you make it, but he's always relied on what works. And it's come to a point where that's not going to work anymore because every defense is going to run that spy now. Every defense is, looking at your film. Now they're looking at the formations. Now they can really predict what the heck Trey Ford is going to do out there. So you can't be predictable. You have to be a passing quarterback in this league in order to be successful. Even Jeremiah Mazzoli at some point was really good at passing for a year or 2 or 3, right? And he's good. He can scramble as well. Look at Vernon Adams Jr. Big play VA, can scramble. He can run and gun football. He is very similar to Trey Ford's style. Totally. You have those styles that are out there, and the most successful are the ones that pass first.
Yeah, but also I think you have to be very dynamic, right? I've said this before that MBT seems to be very one-dimensional. And the problem with that is that he's not able to, step outside of that box that he has put himself in and be more dynamic and be more inventive or maybe even risk some other types of plays. maybe go audible, maybe start making some of his own decisions, right? He's very much in the box. The one thing that we have seen with Trey Ford is that he's very, very dynamic,
Yeah.
right? He's not afraid to make some plays that sometimes they don't work out. I mean, he did get an interception, he did get a sack. You know, there were a few passes that were incomplete, so it's not like he was 100% perfect.
Yeah, and that
But
was like a
he's-
20-yard sack too.
Yeah.
Like it was a big sack.
So we know that, and you know, this all comes with learning, but he's also very dynamic. He's not afraid of making certain plays that MBT really isn't able to do, or so it seems. And the one thing with that perhaps we have seen is that, you know, I mentioned this before, that if there are certain pieces of your team that are not working for you, or they're not working for the team, you make them work for you.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, the O-line. Clearly, with MBT, nothing was happening there with the O-line. It was just not working. Bring in Trey Ford, and something changes. There's a shift that now he's making the O-line work for him. He's reading the plays. He's making the calls. He's, he's suddenly changing the configuration of that O-line so that somebody just as dynamic as him, like Javon Leake, is able to go through and make those plays.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have a very one-dimensional quarterback, you start running into the issues of being predictable. You start running into the issues of, not necessarily making the right calls.
Well, and
Holding onto
being
the
cement,
ball.
exactly, being cement in the pocket.
Mhm.
There's many issues, right? The plan should have been to bring MBT in at half the money starting through games 3 and 4, and then make way for Ford, leaving MBT in the QB2 mentor role. But my guess is MBT didn't want to fill that role,
Mhm.
and that's fair, I guess, right?
He's getting paid for it.
He's getting paid.
right?
He is getting paid for it, but at the same time, there's that ego there. You're a football player.
Mhm.
Excuse me, especially with being a starting quarterback in the league. You want your face on the billboards, which MBT is everywhere right now. His face is everywhere, but it's Ford time. It's Trey Ford's
Yeah.
time, and then MBT was brought in to make Trey Ford better. Well, that's happening now.
Yeah, well, and that's why I kind of made the comment of like maybe he's just past his prime. Maybe he's just not a good quarterback
But this
anymore.
offensive line just does not work for MBT. It doesn't. The offensive line didn't. It wouldn't have worked for him last year. It's not working for him this year. This is a porous offensive line.
Mhm.
Who knows what it comes down to? Right now, I would say that our talent isn't exactly A1, right?
Mhm.
It's painful to watch, but at least Trey Ford can work with it because they've found a winning combination
Mhm.
with his scramble style and him throwing the ball. That offensive line can now at least build a little bit of a pocket for him.
So it's not even so much about building a wall, but stopping several players.
That's
because
it.
That's what we saw. The
they're
O-line
pushing off.
cannot build a wall.
That's all they're
They
doing
just
is pushing guys
cannot.
off. That's exactly what they're doing.
And that's what they're good at, it seems like, right? Because we go back to the whole Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown was relying on that wall that the O-line was not building.
Yeah,
And that's why he couldn't get through.
yeah.
Right? Whereas now you have dynamic pieces and you're working with the strengths of an O-line that is a little defective, right? But it's still, they have their strengths in many ways. So you have to work with that.
That's it. Well, and MBT can't quite make the chicken soup out of chicken, you know what, that Trey Ford can, simply put. So, yeah, I mean,
we do have Daryl saying here, make a wager that Jones promised MBT he'd be the 2024 starter, and it's very much looking like a bit of a prima donna powder.
that's what happens though, when unfortunately you can, like, if MBT could be a lot more mobile, it would be different.
And I
But
mean, do you think that that's why he said that he was injured?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with that whole injury thing, see, that's interesting. Obviously, he's got to look after his ego. Who knows what his agent may have said? Who knows how that moving piece worked, right? It's injury. I mean, that at least saves face. Well, then why is he coming in for those two plays? Why wasn't it Dakota Prukop? If you're really worried about your $500,000 quarterback, $500,000 quarterback, whatever. If you're worried about him and you don't want to damage your asset any further as an organization, then why are you putting him in at backup quarterback to fill in for Trey when Trey goes down in that dick move in that nut, right? But seriously though,
Yeah, no, and I completely agree.
he didn't seem injured in those snaps.
I completely agree. I do think that, as Daryl says, by injury, quotation marks, is the bruised ego. He's still the starter quarterback. He's still QB1. He's still getting paid $500,000 a
He's
year.
getting paid QB1 money. He's
But
now
they
QB2
have
on the depth chart.
and I think this is also on the Elks as well, because the Elks have to save face.
Yeah, they do.
Can't, it's bad for business. This is a bad look when they're like, okay, we're paying this guy so much money and he's just not working out, but we have to keep paying him. So, you know what? No, he's injured. That's why he's not playing so well.
Well, and now we're basically hoping that Trey Ford doesn't go to an NFL team. We're hoping that Trey Ford re-signs with the Edmonton Elks. That's a different topic for another day.
That's a scary topic that I don't want to talk about.
We're in season. Let's focus on the season. I'm sure that's what Trey Ford's agent is saying to him as well. Question number 2 here. CFL attendance numbers have been steadily declining over the last few years.
Mhm.
Last week's attendance was down over 2,000 on average from last year. Does the league have a problem? And if so, should the league bring back local blackouts?
What's a local blackout?
So back in the day, to solve bad attendance, they would black out the game in your region. With the NHL, it's backwards. They black out the game if you're not in the area, so that you have to go buy like the NFL the NHL app or whatever.
No, that'd be bad. That'd be bad. No, they should not do that.
But your attendance goes up, and this is a gate-driven league.
But at the same time, how many, and you've said this before, the Edmonton Elks goes beyond Edmonton. We have people that watch and travel from quite a bit away, from far, far away, sometimes even Fort McMurray, to come see a game. And when you have fans that spread that far, and then suddenly you're doing a blackout and you're reducing their opportunity to watch the game, like that's just going to kill the fan base altogether.
But it's a gate-driven league. Gate-driven league, right? And you need more fans. Now, see, flip side of it that I will agree with, this team needs all the exposure it can get, especially when it comes to the wins. Because whenever there's a loss, it just drags down people's souls. It's interesting. I actually did I saw a pep in my step. I was so excited. I think I celebrated that win for like 2 days. This latest win. Well, because we don't get wins that often at all. So when you do, you take victory Sunday very seriously. And then all of a sudden you got a victory Monday. I get it. Now, if I wasn't coming to the game, if I wasn't going to the game, I would love to watch it. And I would find a VPN or something or some way if we did have local blackouts.
Yeah. So I don't think that's the answer. I really don't. I think that would just be counter.
But out of the 500,000 people that did watch the Calgary, the Saskatchewan Roughriders versus Edmonton Elks game, out of the 500,000 people that watched that game, how many were from Edmonton? How many were from Saskatchewan?
I don't know. I don't know those stats.
No, but like, what's your guess on that?
Oh, I have no idea.
Or is that a lot of people in Canada in general?
Yeah, I would say in Canada generally. I mean, obviously, probably more Edmontonians because the game was in Saskatchewan. So chances are that you had more locals going to the game instead of watching it. So perhaps I would say that it was a greater amount of people from Edmonton. But I mean, you tune in to other CFL games other than just the Edmonton Elks.
I do, right? And that's why I asked that. How much viewership are you really losing in Edmonton, or do you think because we got a capacity of around 1 million, so 10% of Edmonton tunes in for the game, which in all reality that's not a bad number. That could be better, right? Let's say
I mean, you compare it to certain numbers for the NHL, and that's nothing.
For a single home game, I mean. Or sorry, for any single game, that's an away game. But for any single game, is that number I wonder what they would get for one single NHL game.
A lot.
But there's also 82 games in a year.
Yeah, well, and the reality is that yes, the CFL attendance has just been declining. I agree, and I think we've touched on this. That perhaps is a little bit of the generational gap, right? That you have, the older generation that still continues to watch CFL and continues to attend the games, and then there's kind of like, you have the parents that are bringing the children to the games and kind of introducing all of that. But that kind of like in the middle, youth
Right.
doesn't seem to have any sort of interest in a lot of these, right? And I mean, perhaps this is more of what the marketing team at the CFL can do. But, take notes from a lot of the Edmonton Oilers games. What were they doing? What is it that was working, that was bringing in a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of young people, the crowd to come see some of these games?
Yeah.
And the reality is that it's wins. A lot of the time when you get wins, the whole city just feels invigorated. Suddenly there's more talk in the streets. Suddenly you see billboards, you see things on TV, you see
Yeah.
people talking about it, getting excited about it. When you have a winning team, suddenly it's not just what you have in front of your screen and your phone, but it's also word of mouth. It's also experiences. It's also, hey, come check it out. The Edmonton Oilers brought it here to the playoffs, to the very last round, and the streets were buzzing with,
Awesome.
with young people, right? Because that's what they want. They want that experience.
But that's what Daryl's talking about in the herd
Mhm.
chat. The CFL has a youth problem, has for 20 to 30
Mhm.
years. We talk about it fairly often, right? And
Mhm.
youth football is alive and well in Edmonton. We've gone through this a couple times on this show, but it's not translating very well to the Edmonton Elks. It's getting there, but the Edmonton Oil Kings are getting crazy attendances.
Well,
The Riverhawks are getting crazy.
that's what I was going to say. Look at the
Stingers. It's
Riverhawks.
we are oversaturated with sports, and at the very top of it, the Edmonton Oilers are always going to reign supreme.
Of course.
Okay, the Edmonton Oilers will always be the number one focal point, but the number two should be the Edmonton Elks. As per Edmonton Sports Talk the other day, I believe on the Hangout or one of those shows, I think it might have been the Hangout.
Mhm.
They had claimed that the Edmonton Elks were now number 3 or 4 in the city.
Yeah.
For focus, for sports interest and for sports focus. How has this team fallen to that point? Keenan in the herd chat, Edmonton Rush, miss them, right?
Mhm.
We've had the Rush here, and that's a great point as well. We've had the Rush here, and we have had many sports teams
Mhm.
all at once. And the Edmonton Elks have never sunk down to number
Mhm.
3 or number 4 on the pecking order.
Well, and that's, sad to say, but it's probably the lack of wins.
It
It
is.
is. And I mean, Ken here on the chat as well. He also says that part of the problem is the contract structure. Players jump ship every year, and fans don't have a player to cheer for or buy a jersey. You just need a player to stick around. And I mean, I think that goes with the state of the team as well. We've said this before that it feels like the Edmonton Elks have been nothing but a revolving door for the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Of coaching staff, of ownership, and players not sticking around, good players not sticking around. There's no consistency, there's no stability, there's nothing. It's just been a constant revolving door of change. And when
Yeah.
that happens, even with the brand, I don't want to talk about the name, but I'm talking about the brand. There's been a change in brand as well. And now, that is all change that people don't like. People don't like change. I think Brian might have said that in the last episode. People just don't like change. And if it's constantly happening, put that together with the lack of wins, it's like, what are you cheering for?
Well, and I mean the contract structures for sure. I hate the 1-year contracts.
Mhm.
Bare minimum. I wish we had a minimum 2-year contract that we could do,
Mhm.
just to keep some of these players, because that fan piece merchandise is huge. Why
Mhm.
do you think I get a Section X jersey as opposed to getting players' names and numbers on my
Mhm.
jersey? Why? Well, I know that the Section X is going to be there for quite a while in Commonwealth Stadium,
Yeah.
but I don't know how long MBT is going to be in town. I think it's only going to be 1 year at this rate.
Mhm.
and which not quite his fault the way that things are going, but Trey Ford should be the starter right now. But that's it. That's it. You lose these players every year. You just spent this money on a jersey, and now you have to go buy another one. Well, or you're gonna look like a schmuck wearing an old player. Which if they're legendary, sure, that's great. But
You were.
if I'll gladly wear them. I love double E jerseys. But
Yep.
what happens when that player was only there for 1 year, had an injury within like his first game or two, and then moved along to another team? Well, tough to really have a relevant jersey in the building, right? Let's talk about. You'd hope in the herd chat here. Nice name. Let's talk about it. You'd hope with closing the upper bowl would bring more people, right? I hope nothing but the best for the Elks attendance. It's the biggest stadium. It's sad to see how many.
How many people show up? Probably.
Yeah, I mean it's painful. I mean the upper bowl closure annoyed so many people because the view is better up there. I'm not gonna lie. If you're an actual football purist and enjoyer, you're sitting up in the upper bowl and watching that game.
On the flip side, though, you do hear quite a few people saying that they like it now because they get to talk to their neighbor. They get to actually, high five other people that they're around, and they get to feel like part of the experience a lot more when there's a lot more, closely knit people that you're just there with.
Well, and that has been a huge positive piece of feedback. We will say a lot of people are enjoying the fact that they have people to cheer beside. We had people that we enjoyed cheering beside. It has felt better for that. Problem is that the team has wasted so many great crowds. Like, sure, when we say great, we don't necessarily mean it was a good old 30K or like back in the day, right? Unfortunately, it's wasted. As soon as you get that loss with like a nice 18,000 or a 10,000 of people going hard, which the 18,000s, 15 to 18. Now we're getting down to 14s. Now we're getting down to 10s. Now we're getting down to we can't keep going down to those numbers. You need to win. You need to regain glory.
Yeah.
Get the glory
the
back to
wins.
Edmonton.
The wins are going to be the gate to bringing in more people. And once you have more people coming in, then you start getting more people being involved, maybe a lot more new fans, and that's when we'll start seeing it. But it's still sad. It's still sad because if you're talking about CFL in general, that the attendances have declined, it's like, what do you do? What do you do in that instance, right? When you're missing an entire generation that is not interested in this sport, how do you change that? And it's sad because I love football. I already said I'm over hockey. I'm an Oilers fan, and after the last run, I'm exhausted with that. I'm kind of over it. I'm good with that. I love football. I really enjoy it, and it's sad that in Edmonton, with such a historical team, it has fallen to the number 3rd or number 4th sports team in the city. Right? Like, what do you do?
You win. You get it back. You got to win. They got to go on a playoff run now. There's no choice for the Edmonton Elks. Like they say, they control their own destiny, which it's scary to hear that mid-season. That's how you know that you're really running out of losses here. You can't take any more L's. The Edmonton Elks need to win this Sunday at Commonwealth Stadium. Something they have not done yet this season, but there is hope. There is some massive hope. Trey Ford starting in QB1. It's going to be a big affair. Stall 182. First off, let's close this fan forum. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating in this fan forum. That was fantastic. But yeah, no, this Sunday, Stall 182, Herdies. We're gonna have the pop-up smoked pork belly sandwiches, probably smoked pork belly sliders, I believe, is what they're billed as. So free 99 like always. Swing on by Herdies 3 hours before the game. And then, we got this big game. So BC Lions, no Vernon Adams. We got Trey Ford in at QB1. It's going to be massive. We hope to see everybody there. Tailgate, they'll be hooked.
Bring the youngins.
If this young secondary could show some improvement, The wins will come with better quarterback play. Playoffs may not happen, but wins will energize the fan base. And if they could all swing through the tailgate, they'll be hooked.
Yeah,
I like-
I truly believe. Like seriously, Trey Ford is the gate for the young generation.
Really, he really is, right? He's Joe Pritchard in the herd chat. What up, Joe of Rouge, White, and Blue and the Winnipeg Terminal? Joe's taking Edmonton this week.
There you go.
Joe is taking Edmonton. We also had Christina Costable and O'Leary and Jamie Nye over at CFL.ca. CFL. The CFL writers also
O'Leary.
picked O'Leary.
Interesting. Okay.
Chris O'Leary is the man.
Oh no, okay, not the one I was thinking.
No, not Kevin
I
O'Leary.
was like, whoa,
This
he's a CFL fan.
No,
great.
this is not the Dragon's Den. The Elks
My bad.
Den. The Elks Den.
Like that's cool. He thinks Edmonton's gonna win. That's cool.
Taking pitches for T-shirts. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. I have lots of faith. Predicting a 36-30 Edmonton Elks win over BC Lions, hoping that we do not let them get 30 in. Let's just put it that way.
Well, we do have Dolagala.
Dolagala, very inconsistent. Saw him last year. Go Elks, we need a win to help Saskatchewan.
No, okay, no.
Well, hey, our team did beat Let's Talk About Its Riders.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Still.
Alrighty, everybody, we have made it to the end of the show. We'd like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in tonight, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook or listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or on your favorite podcatcher. This was fantastic. We had a blast with you, everybody. Once again, my name is Scout, a.k.a. the rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, a.k.a. Do You Even Elks?
We are the Elks Herd. This was the Elks Call, and we'll see everybody on the next episode, hopefully with another win under our belts. Cheers, everybody.
Have a good night.